Yeah, either way.
For a second, I thought you were dusting.
You know the metals.
Are you ready? Okay. Welcome to our Planning Commission meeting for November the 14th, 2023. And we're glad you're here. I guess all the commissioners are attending, and I guess we don't need to worry about public comment. You are here for Panera? Yep. Okay. Presentations and reports, Mr. Eggett.
Thank you. I think this will be a little more organized now that I have this pulled up. As I noted, Axio Automotive is along Freeway Park Drive, and Freeway Park Drive has been going through quite a bit of maintenance, upgrading, relocation of a bunch of utilities, and there's been a bunch of closures and opening and things that should hopefully get under control by the end of the week and then be back to normal for those businesses, at least what normal is during the construction of that whole corridor. So they'll at least have two-way traffic and business access during that time going forward. Uptown Cheapskate, I didn't note that upstairs, but they're obviously open and running for business. Hopefully they're doing well. American Freight, appreciate everybody coming out for the ribbon cutting on Friday. That was great, well attended. Tesla's going to town up there, and the power lines are being located. Shake Shack is anticipating opening on December 13th. America First is moving forward with their admin ops building, as you see when you drive by the freeway, and the road along it is coming along pretty well. I have no updates on Thrive Appliance other than that they're I guess in process. IDK Barbecue and Empowered and Bricks and Minifigures, I don't have any updates. And then Ashley Furniture is coming along. I think a lot of what's going on in Ashley is internal still. That's why it doesn't look like much, but I think the exterior stuff is pretty quick when it will be that time. So I would say you'll know when you start to see exterior work going up and the sign going up, you know it's getting close to being open. Let's just say that. So that's what I had to report. And if you have any other questions, let me know.
Okay, thank you. Presentations and report, or consent items. Does anybody have anything to do with the last minutes?
We don't have any.
We don't have
We don't
consent
have any?
items today.
They weren't
There's
published.
not
They
any.
weren't published?
There's nothing on there.
Oh, I'm,
And then right?
You get a full pass.
did you enjoy the cruise? Okay, thank you.
All that matters.
Sorry, thank you, everybody.
Everyone approve of
Okay,
Michelle
we're down to our action items.
being on vacation.
Consideration of conditional use permit request for Panera Bread located at approximately 4122 South Riverdale Road, Riverdale, Utah 84405, is requested by Perigee Consulting and Panera Bread Group. Mr. Eggett.
Thank you. So they're represented tonight by Russell Haight, who's in attendance. If you have any questions for him on this is for a restaurant site with drive-through services by code in the C2 zone, along with pretty much everything that's traditionally a C3. It's a conditional use request in that location, and that is due to the Green Hill Apartments just to the east of the site. So they have submitted, as you see in the packet, the application and paid the fee to come before the Planning Commission. The ownership of the property is Williamson Riverdale 2 LLC, and the zoning, the general plan, if you're curious, for this area is planned commercial high, but obviously the area, well, now I say that. Oh, yeah, that's interesting. Even the apartments are shown on the old general plan as planned commercial high, so there you go. And so the use does comply with that land use request. The basis for review of the conditional use permit is found in your packet, Articles A through G of 10-19-5. If you're curious to kind of know what your screen would be as you evaluate this, there are no comments from staff of any concerns or impacts that were noted different from, as was discussed in the work session, other uses that are already there in place and do have conditional use permits for restaurant and eatery uses. So this doesn't seem to be any more impactful and such per staff commentary and review. So that's why you don't see any additional comments noted in the conditional use permit section of the packet other than just the comments that are for the main item. They'd be applicable where necessary, but there's nothing that stood out. So with that, I would defer to the planning commissioners to see how you'd like to proceed. And then if you have any other questions from me or Mr. Haight, we'll be happy to answer. Thank you.
Would you like to come forward? State your name and your city of residence.
Russell Haight and Western Utah.
Thank you so much. Commissioners?
I don't have anything. I'm excited to see it go in.
Same.
Me too.
I can't wait to get their butternut squash soup.
It'll be a great addition to that area.
I agree.
I'll make the motion that we approve the consideration of the conditional use permit request for Panera Bread located approximately 4122 South Riverdale Road, Riverdale, Utah 84405, as requested by Peregrine Consulting and Panera Bread Group.
We're gonna do it with staff, whatever this.
There are no staff.
Yeah,
I'll
we're-
second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Do I need to poll the commission? That was obviously 100%. Thank you so much.
Yep.
I hope this wasn't too difficult. Okay, do we have any comments?
Well, we do
We need to
move
do
on to
part
item
B.
B.
Need to do part B.
Part B
Oh. The recommendation, excuse me.
For
I'm
the
having a
final
hard
site
time
plan.
tonight. Okay, consideration of recommendation to City Council regarding the final site plan proposal for Panera Bread Restaurant located at approximately 4122 South Riverdale Road, Riverdale, Utah 84405, as requested by Peregrine Consulting and Panera Bread Group. Mr. Agate, thank you.
No worries. I just wanted to make sure you didn't want to add something. So, yeah, Russell Haight is representing Panera Bread on this as well. He does work for Peregrine Consulting on this. So the address originally had come in as 4130. That's what John Paris had as, but the property itself, this is kind of the first thing I want to point out and get on the record. The property itself is actually, by county records, 4122. So you'll see that change going forward. And I'll update the applications to reflect 4122. And I've let Russell know as
Be
well.
on tax records too.
That's how it is on everything. So there was a mistake. It probably started kind of with me. I looked at what John Paris's address was, and for whatever reason, it was not what the property address was.
Oh.
So we're going to go back to what the parcel is, what the county recognizes is, and what it should be, which is 4122.
Perfect.
So that's the first thing that I wanted to note. We've talked about the C2 zone. There's no public hearing required for this request. This is regulated as noted in Title 10 Ordinance Guidelines, and the property is owned by Williamson Riverdale 2 LLC. I'm going to move down, and the general plan is planned commercial land, the old general plan, and it's commercial on the new general plan. I'm going to go down and go through some of my review comments. Russell may be a little bit of a disadvantage, or Mr. Haight may be a little bit of a disadvantage. I did send it to him this morning, so I don't know if he's had a chance to look at all the review comments or not, but you're welcome to ask him when he comes up. So I've updated the first one, the address, talked about that. Then under the property owner's name, I just noted some things that need to be updated and changed for the name and address for the group. The address isn't shown, and then I've identified what it is. And then under the property developer, there's just some misspelling, and again, no mailing address. Under the approved agency's name and address, the zip code was error, and Randy Koger is no longer with the city, so the fire department would reference Jared Shawley going forward. Sheet number total sheets, I said sheet E11 is shown on the sheet list table as irrigation details. This need to be corrected to be site photometric. It's a lighting plan, not an irrigation plan on the cover sheet. The scale is missing on the cover sheet for a general scale. Otherwise, all the other pages have it. And the vicinity map, there's no scale shown, or even sometimes I'll see like a note just says not to scale. And that's not there. But there's just no notification of what the scale might even be. Scrolling all the way down then to page 4, I did note some things about signage. Now I will put an asterisk on all these signage comments, caveat. We do have a meeting tomorrow with Design Review Committee. They will have signage in that meeting. Your chair will be in that meeting with me and with other members of the city. And Mr. Haight will be back up to the city tomorrow morning for that meeting. So we'll review that, and then we'll have the architects and design team on. We'll do a hybrid meeting, and they'll be on the call to participate. And we'll cover more of that signage. So just know that. But if you do have questions in the interim you'd like to ask Mr. Haight, you could. And I guess if we really, really had to, I could try to dig up the drawings for the signage that was submitted to us late last week, I think, is when we finally received that email. So anyway, and then obviously the next one under type of construction, DRC will need to approve building colorations, materials, signage concepts, and landscape plan. But you do have in your packet a rendering of what that would look like, the building as well. So if you have any questions about the external look of it, it is available to discuss. Moving on to page 6 of my review, as I noted up in the work session, there are some compliance concerns with UDOT approvals for the site. Perigee has submitted traffic study in order to get their clearance for their variance from UDOT. That is in process. You're welcome to discuss that further with Mr. Haight to see what updates there may be there if you feel like you'd like to discuss that with him. Then on page 7 of mine, new line location, size, and type not shown or identified in notes for electrical lines, telephone lines, cable, or fiber optic. And sometimes we just will see a note in the legend that says location to be determined on site, and that's good enough for me. I just need something that evidences how or where that will be located for the new lines as part of the site plan. Water rights transfer documentation, work with Public Works Department to make sure that they meet 8-6-3 of the city code. And Mr. Haight's very aware of that one as well, and I'm sure has been talking to Sean and the Public Works Department to figure that out. So those are my reviews. Looking down then on the Public Works, I was actually pleasantly surprised. If you look at the old review comments versus this one, they're significantly reduced to the point where they're not even half a page, whereas before it was a page and a half. So there we go. But under stormwater, it's basic things we typically see: drainage system operation and maintenance plan. Plan needs to be labeled as Panera. Maintenance requirement plan sheet needs to list specific items and cleaning frequencies, and the plan needs to include training log. And item 2, detail plan for orifice structure. Item 3, stormwater prevention plan for construction site, including BMPs. And then things he'd like to see in that plan. 4 is the injection well permit, and 5 is stormwater calculations need to be based on 100-year storm. The police chief, he says it'd be nice to have the right-in, right-out access if UDOT will allow it on SR 26 south of 300 West. Between that access, 300 West and Canes across the road, if it cuts through, there should be plenty of access, shouldn't be a problem. I don't see any other input to offer on the plans. His point is what we talked about upstairs. If they have access on Riverdale Road, the safest is right in, right out, and it would be best to have a road connector that goes through to Canes. So he's just reiterating what we discussed upstairs. Police chief has no issues on his end. Now to the engineer review. There's a lot of comments in here that are engineering in nature. Just under some things with improvement drawings. First one is Riverdale roads also should be labeled as SR 26. Design and details need to be shown for all retaining walls, and then he goes into what he's looking for as it relates to the area adjacent to Green Hill Apartments to the east and how the retention structure will look there. The water meter at the north property corner of Riverdale Road that was connected to the existing building. This line needs to be disconnected at the main water line in Riverdale Road. So another one of those water disconnection discussions. Hopefully we'll get this one taken care of without any issue or concern. On the south property line, adjacent to the existing building, there appears a manhole with concrete lid. Need to verify the line is abandoned and may need to be removed. It appears on Google as it continues westerly to an irrigation box. Need to verify if this line is used for irrigation or stormwater. Does it continue to the east? If not, it is not shown on the Alta survey. Number 6, access to south property appears may not happen as said property has been completely landscaped. Adjust plans accordingly. Need to show, number 7, need to show existing elevations of adjacent properties as the design is interconnected. Number 8, the stormwater calculations are shown for a 50-year storm event, needs to be done for a 100-year storm event. So that matches what Mr. Douglas had said. Number 9, the basin calculations needs the area switched. 10, the volume of the basin to the east seems approximately double of what we have calculated. 11, the underground stormwater system and hydrodynamic separator needs to have the elevations for installation. 12 is the orifice plate comment again, like Mr. Douglas noted. 13, there are no elevations along the top back of curb and sidewalk on Riverdale Road. Please show to ensure the driveways and grades are correct. Check the grading on the landscape strip behind the sidewalk to ensure minimal runoff onto the sidewalk or create a small swell. And then 14, both the Alta and survey drawings have spelling errors. The bearings need to make sure the degrees, minutes, and second symbols are placed correctly. So those are our engineer comments. You'll see the application following, fee being paid for this. You'll see the response to the initial review, the preliminary review, and where the drawings have been updated in response to those. Thereafter, there'll be a letter regarding the storm drain calculations and design. Stormwater quality report, it follows thereafter that. And then you'll start to see designs for the site, what the old building is, what the floor plan is, what the exterior of the buildings will look like more or less. Lay out some typical design schemes that they have for finishes. Multiple pages, let's see. And then the site plan drawings start on page, looks like 54 in your packet. That's where you'll see the Alta survey and the site plan drawings for the site, and then all the utility planning. So I believe that, and then the landscape plan is at the end, and then the very, very last page is the lighting plan. So that should be everything. If you have any other questions for me or Mr. Haight, please let us know, and I'll defer to you as the Planning Commission to discuss further. Oh, and one more note. Obviously, you're the recommendation body for the purposes of this. This is the final recommendation review. So with that, I'll defer to your discussion. Thank you.
For the record, Chairman Eskelson has asked that I conduct the balance of the meeting here. So, Mr. Haight, could we invite you back to the mic, please? Commissioners, do we have any comments or questions?
I have one question. It appears that on the back side of the building, which I guess is the north side, that there's enough room there on the property for another building to be built. Is that anticipated in the future, that there will be another business possibly going in to the north of you there?
Are you talking?
I mean the south.
South.
The south. I meant the south.
Like, are you talking about the space of real estate that's? I'm just trying to get my bearings, because obviously there's parking areas south, but to the east there looks like just open space. Is that what you're talking about? Maybe towards the apartments?
Yes.
That open space area. Okay.
Yeah.
Between
That,
Panera and the
Apartments?
and
Yeah.
yes.
On the apartment?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say no. Panera Bread is leasing the whole land, and so they
Okay.
probably would not be.
That's how I
subletting.
understand
Yeah.
it too. There's no interest for it to be any other user but Panera. And even if you look at some grading on the irrigation plan, it looks like that property to the east might have some kind of a landscaping or even some kind of draining feature to it. That I
Okay.
can see.
There's a small basin.
Yeah,
debase,
that's what it looks
retention
like.
basin there.
Landscape, small catch basin to meet their requirement.
All right. I was just curious about that because I did notice that there's, a foot on the footprint. It looks like there's enough space to build another building there.
Yeah.
So, just curious about that.
And Mr. Eggett mentioned that you just barely got this list, so I don't know how much you can speak to it, but I'm wondering if any of the items on the engineering list, if those have been taken care of that you know of, or are these all still pending?
For the major ones like the storm drain, either sizing for the 100-year. We are sized for the 100-year, but UDOT that's who we're discharging to because they own SR. Well, they run this drainage in SR 26, and so for that we have it's the underground gallery to store the 100-year, and also that retention basin stores for the 100-year. And so comments about that is just going to be something we're resolved, and also the orifice plate design. That's fairly simple. Also, just they're going to put a hole inside the gallery. It's basically a steel pipe, and so they're just going to cut a hole that matches that. So detailing those out, it's pretty much done in design, and so it's not going to change our design to meet those comments. I feel like those were the biggest comments were how storm drain was handling. So
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you have any update information on the UDOT concerns for that agreement?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Could you tell them, Russell, maybe where, from your perspective, that's at, so that the planning commission is clear as far as the filing of the variance and the submittal to UDOT, just kind of where it's at.
Okay, yeah. So the summary of like the traffic study was that doing a right in, right out does not hinder traffic in the area, the level of service of the roads, and so UDOT really doesn't have a way to say don't do it because it's not affecting too much. And then with that, we're going to submit to UDOT that traffic study, the variance form, the cross access agreement, and a drainage agreement, and all that paperwork's going in tomorrow to UDOT, and so that will be our second submittal to them for a variance. From the landowners, when their talks to UDOT, they don't. From what they understand, this access cannot be removed, and so moving it to a right in, right out, we'll just have to see if they require any more like signage or striping added to the site. And so far, we've added a no left-hand turn and then pavement markings on the road to show you can only go right.
Has UDOT indicated if they're going to move forward with a median along Riverdale Road? I know they've kind of discussed that possibility. Have they given you any intel if they're going to consider that, or
I have not received any more.
haven't heard any more about that? Okay.
How about 300 west, access in that direction? Going west, east out of there.
So you're going up through like Starbucks.
Yeah.
That, maybe I'm not understanding the question. There's no, sorry.
Is there any access currently going through Starbucks area?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're tying to that.
And UDOT is, where are they at with that connection as well?
That they're happy with that. That's actually
That's no issue to them?
Yeah, that's the main design they would like for us to remove the front access. That's what we're asking the variance to keep that open, but switch it to remove it from a full access to a right in, right out. That's what we're asking for a variance. So the back access, there's no
issue on the back access.
Yeah.
Okay.
They'd like that to be our only access, but we'd like to keep the front.
Mr. Agate, on 300, does the state does UDOT have any jurisdiction over that?
But it's a tricky discussion, and this is what he's trying to get at, and we've had these meetings. Although they exert influence on those kind of discussions, even on local roads, because of how it impacts their jurisdictional oversight of their main road, SR 226. So because they do, then they exert their influence on discussions about like access to 300 and again, access through. And if you remember, I was discussing a little bit how that's how they can influence a property owner and try to encourage a property owner to create other connection accesses to make the site work better so it's safer, to create more options for motorists who might use the site. So again, without saying too much, that's where there might be some hope of creating other connectivity into the site through that influence.
Thank you. That better clarifies that for me. Thank you.
I know you're right next to Starbucks on the east side.
Yeah.
I know there was a lot of controversy between that property owner and Starbucks. Is there going to be a barrier there between you, or is that property going to be connected, or how's that working there?
So the grading, there's going to be about a 30% slope, and a 30% slope, you can plant grass on that, but we're just going to have like a rock going up to that. So it should be no retaining walls needed there. Our grading should tie pretty nice into that with no retaining wall.
So to get from Starbucks to your place, you'll have to go roundabout?
Oh, so, okay, yeah. So coming down, so you come off 13th, you're going to pass that back parking lot, and then we just continue down, and then it's going to be a hard right turn, and then you'll come into our parking lot.
Okay.
It's about I think it's about a 5% grade on that road coming down.
Because there is an elevation portion there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think there's a retaining wall there now, so that will go away. That's
the plan,
what
yeah.
you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there will be access between the two.
Yeah.
Not driving access, but
Not
obviously
driving,
walkable access. It'll be enough grade where you could easily park in the Starbucks parking lot and go to Panera and vice versa.
So it'll make it look like it's one property rather than two separate properties. That'll be nice.
And we
Dogs open, I parked over there and hopped it.
So I take it you're working with Starbucks to take care of that.
correct, and also we've also re-surveyed Snack Shack's improvements, so we should also be tying nice into their landscape, except for
Shake Shack.
Shake Shack. So even on that other side, we should be tying very nicely for the parking lot section. The road section, we're still a little bit, might just be a big old block retaining wall for now, but for the rear of the property. So
Okay.
Any other questions, commissioners? Then a motion would be appropriate, please.
I'll make a motion that we approve favorable recommendation to the city council with staff and engineering recommendations regarding the final site plan proposal for Panera Bread Restaurant located at approximately 4122 South Riverdale Road, Riverdale, Utah, 84405, as requested by Peregrine Consulting and Panera Group.
And just to clarify the motion, when you said with staff and engineering comments, meaning that they be resolved as a component
Yes,
of
sir.
your
That-
motion?
That all staff and engineering comments and concerns be resolved.
I'll second that.
Okay, Michelle, could we have a poll? Thank you.
Commissioner Nye,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes?
Commissioner Noland,
Yes.
Commissioner Polson,
Yes.
Commissioner Spires,
Yes?
Commissioner Herman,
Yes?
Commissioner Eskelson.
Yes.
Okay, the motion has passed. Thank you, Mr. Haight.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, final, I'm not ready here.
Comments.
Final comments from staff and from the commissioners, if any.
Do I need to, is what I brought up upstairs fine?
We'll take care of it.
Okay.
But if you have anything else, I'll defer to you, and then obviously I'll share a little bit about kind of what I shared in the work session, just for the record. So just again, just to kind of put on the record where I briefly talked about it in work session. I want to make sure it's on the record because this is one of the things that the state legislature is watching very closely, and that is to make sure that this code update be done correctly. We have a deadline of February 1st. When I say we, any city that is part of a first-class county of a certain population is required to have this update done by February 1st of this year. All other smaller cities are required to have the same update done by the end of the year next year. So that's how serious the state is about it. I want to get on the record so it's very clear that we're taking it seriously. We are working on that update. I will have a read version to you at the next meeting and hope to set a public hearing for the following meeting with you so that we can go that route with it. I have done right before this meeting, got a first draft, I think, completed. I still have to run it through the city attorney, and I also have our public works director look at it. I'm also going to have Michelle just have another set of eyes look at it for completeness. I also need to review again the state code to make sure I don't miss anything. It's that serious. But hopefully I can get the process right, get the road width in there right, and any other things. Now, some things will defer to state code. You won't see in there like that what they call the shot clock, which is what I was talking about with the review back and forth. That won't be in our code. It doesn't need to be because it's covered by state code. But just, I might still bring something forward so you kind of know, or if you have questions, you say, hey, Mike, how does this work? That kind of dialogue is healthy and probably needs to happen because we're going to a whole new kind of way to deal with these. And I have a feeling based on the legislative update I got even just yesterday, it's not over. So unfortunately, we thought it was, we thought that things were looking well, but then there's a housing audit report that's just been completed through the state auditor or the state legislative auditor. I don't know which one. And apparently the findings that they haven't divulged to the public yet are such that now they're kind of all, we thought they were defanged and their fangs are back out as a result of that report. We'll just say that. So I know that doesn't sound very nice. I don't know a better way to say it, but unfortunately, the one good news that hopefully the governor will put his mouth into motion and do what he's telling the league leadership behind the scenes. He does now recognize that there's a builder issue and the builders aren't taking seriously their participation in this and the resources available to them. But that also means that he's going to look at ways to create funding mechanisms for developers. So I don't know how you feel about that, but that's kind of what the side effect of him seeing it that way is. So I don't know how the storyline is going to play out going into the next legislative session, but unfortunately, they did the very thing we were afraid of, and they took our housing reporting, which we did, and they've since done the audit, and now they're kind of, yeah. Anyway, it's interesting. There's a meeting between the league staff and the governor, I think, this week to discuss some ideas he has to incentivize or encourage or even require developers, if they want to do subdivision development, to do so many starter homes in subdivisions. So that might be a good thing. We don't know what that might look like, a program like that, but I'll keep you updated. But it's kind of one of those things where the legislature was in a better place, and now they're kind of back into this pattern of more regulation or taking away the regulation oversight from cities. So I'll keep you posted. But in the meantime, we'll get this code updated to show that yet again, we're doing what we're supposed to, and hopefully we do it right. And you
can't regulate contractors into building
that's the conversation,
things
right?
they don't want to build.
That's the conversation. So what's the only other way to do it? You actually require them to, by saying, if you want to build this kind of product, you have to build so many starter home products that are at this value. And the state says thou shalt, and then the cities follow suit, and then developers have to if they want to develop in the state of Utah. That's what the discussion kind of is turning to right now. But I don't know if it will hold, because a lot of legislators tend to be developers. So
Yeah.
I don't know how that will look when the time comes. Anyway, but I'll have that too. I'll bring that forward, and we'll get working on that. Again, if you feel like you need to be critical of me, it won't hurt my feelings. It needs to be as right as possible to protect the city, and I understand that. So I want to make it as right as possible. So if I write something and it makes sense to me, or it seems to read with the code, but you read it and you're like, Mike, I'm confused, or this needs to be worded differently, I think I get what you're saying. That's definitely the time to do it, because we got to make sure it's right.
Okay, Mike,
okay.
I'm confused.
So you'll get
Actually,
that-
I want to circle back to some of your first comments. When you said February of this year,
Yeah.
you meant
February of
next
24.
year.
Sorry, February 1st,
Okay,
2024.
that's what I was
Yeah.
thinking. I just wanted to clarify.
No, that's right.
Okay.
When I say this year, this coming year, yeah.
So when will you have that out to us?
So I'll have it out in your next packet for the next meeting. We'll be able to discuss it. You'll have 2 weeks to look at it, but we'll want to set a public hearing, and then we'll come back to do a formal public hearing on it. Yeah. And the other good news about doing it this way is there's some things procedurally that have not been historically as clear that I've made more explicitly clear with this update. So it's going to be really hard for a developer to say, I don't understand, or your code doesn't say that. I'm trying to be as explicit as possible, so I don't give them the opportunity to try to catch us in a gray area. So, yeah.
Great job, Mike. Thank you for always being on top of everything.
Great.
It's going to be an interesting process. I don't even know. The council, we'll see how they respond to it. It'll be interesting. Anyway.
All right.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Yes.
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 Okay, thank you.